Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel Future Force. Today we are diving deep into one of the most critical and dramatic developments in the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine, a strike that has shaken the very foundation of Moscow's military supply chain. The focus of our discussion is Russia's supply chain crisis and Ukraine's bold strike on the Crimean Bridge, an event that not only carries military consequences but also deep symbolic and psychological meaning for both sides of the war. The Crimean Bridge, also known as the Kerch Strait Bridge, is more than just a piece of infrastructure. It is a lifeline that connects Russia to Crimea, the peninsula Moscow annexed in 2014, and has been the key logistical artery for moving troops, weapons, fuel, and supplies into occupied Ukrainian territory. By targeting this bridge, Ukraine struck directly at the heart of Russia's operational capabilities, creating a ripple effect that threatens the Kremlin's entire war machine. The exterior of this situation can be described by the raw visual impact of the attack. Flames erupting, columns of smoke rising over the Kerch Strait, and sections of the bridge collapsing into the waters below. This exterior layer of the story presents a powerful image of destruction, not just of steel and concrete, but of Russian confidence and pride. The bridge had been portrayed by Moscow as untouchable, heavily fortified and protected by layers of air defense, electronic countermeasures, and naval patrols. For Ukraine to strike, it successfully shatters that illusion of invulnerability. The exterior impact is clear for the world to see. Russia's most prized strategic structure is vulnerable, and Ukraine has the capability to strike it. Moving to the interior, this is where the deeper story unfolds. The interior dynamics of this strike involve the logistical, political, and psychological consequences that ripple far beyond the visible damage. The Crimean Bridge was not just a supply line, it symbolized Russia's permanent claim over Crimea, a physical declaration of ownership. Its destruction, or even partial incapacitation, undermines Moscow's narrative of control. Inside Russia, this creates anxiety among the population and frustration among military leaders who must now scramble to reroute supplies through alternative, less efficient paths. The Russian army relies heavily on consistent flows of ammunition, fuel, and reinforcements, all of which have been disrupted by Ukraine's attack. This forces the Kremlin to stretch its already pressured logistics across longer distances, vulnerable routes, and through areas increasingly exposed to Ukrainian strikes. The interior also reveals Ukraine's growing confidence and technological evolution. Each strike demonstrates Kyiv's ability to innovate, adapt, and push back against a much larger adversary. The attack on the Crimean Bridge represents months of intelligence gathering, coordination, and careful execution. It also signals to Western allies that the weapons, intelligence, and financial support being provided are being used with precision and impact. For Ukraine, the interior meaning is the strengthening of morale, not just among its soldiers, but also its civilians who see that victory, though distant, is possible. For Russia, the interior reveals cracks in its defensive posture, forcing the military to reevaluate strategies and increasing pressure on leadership to deliver results. This paragraph could not be smaller because it needs to capture the vast consequences that go beyond the exterior destruction and speak to the heart of why this strike matters. Looking at performance, the strike itself was highly effective. By targeting the bridge, Ukraine achieved multiple goals simultaneously, damaging Russian supply lines, challenging Moscow's narrative, and proving its operational reach. The performance of the strike showcased Ukraine's ability to bypass Russian air defense systems, either through drones, naval operations, or other methods. The fact that the bridge was hit more than once in the course of the war highlights Ukraine's persistence and adaptability. From a purely military performance standpoint, the attack was a success because it forced Russia to divert resources, exposed vulnerabilities, and delayed or even reduced the flow of critical supplies. Russia's logistical performance, on the other hand, is suffering. What once seemed like a seamless supply chain has now been turned into a fragile network constantly under threat. Trucks must take longer detours, ships are exposed in the Black Sea, and rail lines are vulnerable to sabotage. In terms of safety features, Russia believed the Crimean Bridge had been heavily fortified to prevent exactly this kind of scenario. Reports indicated multiple layers of air defense systems, patrol boats, and surveillance equipment guarding the structure. Yet, despite these measures, the safety features failed to stop Ukraine from carrying out its mission. This failure not only reflects poorly on Russia's military, but also signals to the world that no target in occupied territories is truly safe. On Ukraine's side, the safety measures involve secrecy, advanced planning, and ensuring minimal exposure of personnel during such risky operations. Their ability to strike effectively while limiting their own casualties is a testament to their operational security and the careful use of intelligence. When we speak of unique selling points in this context, Ukraine's strike on the Crimean Bridge stands out as one of the most strategically significant moves in the war. Unlike battles fought over small villages or trenches, this was a direct blow against a major strategic asset. The uniqueness lies in its layered impact: military, political, symbolic, and psychological. It sent a message not only to Russia, but also to the global community that Ukraine can take the fight deep into occupied territory and strike what Moscow holds most dear. This uniqueness is also tied to timing, striking at a moment when Russia was trying to stabilize its front lines and reinforce its troops, adding maximum pressure. If we compare the price, the costs involved for each side are starkly different. For Ukraine, the price of carrying out such an operation was high in terms of planning, resources, and risk. Each strike requires scarce and valuable assets, as well as months of preparation. However, the payoff is enormous because the damage inflicted far outweighs the investment. For Russia, the price is catastrophic. The financial cost of repairing or securing the bridge is immense, with billions already spent on reconstruction after previous strikes. The military cost is even greater, as disrupted supply lines translate into weakened battlefield performance. And then, there is the political price. President Putin personally inaugurated the bridge, making its destruction a direct blow to his image and authority. In wars, perception is often as important as reality, and the price Russia pays in lost prestige may be even greater than the material damage. The conclusion we can draw is clear. Ukraine's strike on the Crimean Bridge is not an isolated act, but a strategic maneuver that reshapes the dynamics of the war. Russia faces a supply chain crisis that undermines its ability to sustain prolonged operations in southern Ukraine. Ukraine, meanwhile, has shown its growing strength and determination, boosting morale at home and abroad. The bridge, once seen as a symbol of permanence, now stands as a symbol of vulnerability. Every time Russia repairs it, Ukraine proves it can strike again. The battle for logistics is just as important as the battle for territory, and Ukraine has found a way to tilt that balance in its favor. This story is about more than steel and concrete. It is about willpower, strategy, and the ever-changing dynamics of modern warfare. And as long as the bridge remains a target, Russia's supply chain crisis will continue to deepen, shaping the future of this conflict in ways that may prove decisive.